Good evening to you and welcome to The Bottom Line, a wrap of the business news of the day. And we start with a number of the day, something to remember, and I'm sure you can guess that it's linked to Black Friday. Well, last year, 3 billion rand was spent on Black Friday. So that's a single shopping day, according to Bank Africa. That was up nearly 16% from the previous year. And if anything, the hype has intensified. So we'll see what happens on Black Friday tomorrow. But there are warnings tonight. There have been for a while that Black Friday can lead to a black hole of debt. Don't put yourself dangerously in the red. Well, we'll be speaking to TransUnion, the credit bureau that has crunched some of the numbers from last year. And let's just take a look at some information about accounts. So the credit bureau says that new accounts opened in the week of Black Friday were up 37% compared to the same week a month before. Credit card limits went up. There was a 49% increase in retail installment accounts. That's normally for furniture and electronics. A 30% increase in retail revolving accounts, normally used for electronics, homeware and general appliances. But the problem is that down the line, some of these retail revolving accounts were actually in arrears. Well, let's chat through this. We're joined by the CEO of TransUnion Africa, Naik. Thank you for being with us, Lee. So we brought up those accounts. Just take us through it. I mean, is this significant enough to show that tomorrow a lot of shoppers will be shopping on credit?
Well, the truth is that Black Friday is a mainstay part of the South African calendar. It was an American phenomenon for a long time, but now it's mainstay. It's an entire week of sales.
In fact, the hype is getting bigger and bigger. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I think for the last 2 years, it's gone from a single day to a single day plus Cyber Monday. Now it's an entire week.
Yeah.
And in many regards, we all look forward to Black Friday week, and we look forward to all these wonderful sales. What we have found, if you look back at last year around the same time, we found that almost 130,000 new accounts were opened in Black Friday week. Now, the truth is that most of us need credit to survive and to go about the purchase we make. I think the point you saw earlier in the data was that many folk are taking on debt that they actually can't afford. And the biggest concern for us is that you need to be judicious. And for almost half of the retail revolving accounts that opened up, half of them went bad just 6 months later. And that's quite scary.
So that means 6 months down the line, people were not able to pay back the debt they had taken on for Black Friday, basically.
That's right. So basically 6 months on, they went into a month or two of arrears already. So as it starts to creep up, as you're well aware, you start to worry about defaults and judgments. That's quite scary. That a quick decision during Black Friday week, if you're not judicious in terms of your exposure, could lead to consequences downstream.
So you're buying something you can't afford, basically.
Well, you're buying more than you can afford. And I guess there's a combination of what do you need versus what do you want. Many folk are enthralled by the many brochures they've seen today, and the question is, should you buy everything, or should you buy these one or two purchases that make sense and they are exceptionally good value for money in that week, but relative to what you can afford? There'll always be specials throughout the year, but are you buying things that will create a concern for you downstream, or are you exposing yourself too much?
And these new retail accounts, I mean, they attract interest. What sort of interest rates are we looking at? And then you've got to consider that could wipe out the discount that you're getting in the first place.
That's absolutely true. The truth, though, is that if you actually manage your credit card facility quite well, many of them actually are interest-free if you pay within a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
The trick,
usually
however,
30 days, yeah?
Correct. It's 30 days or up to 55 days in some of the banks. Now, the trick is to actually pay these accounts on time, so you actually don't have the actual debt beyond that. But as you have many credit cards, you have many worries concurrently. If you aren't monitoring your behavior, Francis, you actually start to go over that line, and it starts to snowball.
So how do you see Black Friday? I mean, is it just hype to get people to spend? Or is there value in buying big ticket items that you want to buy anyway, or perhaps need to buy? What's a want and what's a need?
Correct. Well, on a personal level, I think I've been looking at fridges and looking at televisions, right? I've got my eye on a few of them. And in a digital world where everything's on your mobile phone and on your email, you actually can shop around well in advance of Black Friday. Almost every retailer has put out their brochures today. So tomorrow I know exactly what I need versus what I want. I would love lots of things, right? But I figured figured out I do need a fridge, I need a new television. So that's a key thing to actually do when you think about Black Friday, is figure out what those purchases are. The biggest thing for me as the CEO of TransUnion is being aware of the information around your financial health. Now, many folk actually don't know how indebted they are. A useful stat that you didn't cover earlier is that every year, out of the 25 million people that use credit in South Africa, only 400,000 people get their free credit report from the bureaus.
Yeah.
And that's quite scary if you don't know how bad it is now.
And you
how can
do
make a
offer
good
that
call?
for free, so you can see how you are seen. But technically, nobody should give you credit if you have an appalling record.
Well, that's true. I think the truth, though, is that they are really good deals, and it's not a point about getting new credit. It's a fact that when you take on the credit, the lenders need to be more careful about giving you the credit to start with.
Yeah.
And when you have the credit, you could be good today, but if you don't service the debt, you suddenly go from the black into the red, and that's the concern we have.
And an interesting thing you said you've been looking at the prices. I mean, that seems to be solid advice. Make sure that what you're buying is actually a good deal by looking at the prices before. I mean, I put something on Twitter yesterday.
Yes.
There was an item on Take-A-Lot that seemed to double, according to somebody who was watching, a few days before Black Friday, presumably for the sales. And it was double basically what was being offered other retailers. So this is going on.
Absolutely. I think there's a truth to be told that there are many retailers looking to maximize on the hype of Black Friday. But given the world we live in, where everything's on Twitter and on Facebook and on the internet, and it's a matter of looking around and seeing what sales are around there, the best advice anybody could be told on Black Friday is figure out those one or two things you need. And actually, somebody earlier told me that on Black Friday, toilet paper's on sale. That could be a purchase you do buy on credit, but you actually pay it off over a period of time.
Yeah.
Because it could be a big item, but it could be a small item that puts you in a bad spot of trouble, right?
But presumably go with cash or go with money that you have in your bank account.
100%. When you think about the need that you have versus what I'd like and what I'd want, these are very different things. And many purchases you can actually save for over a longer period of time. And remember, credit, if not serviced well, has a cost linked to the interest rate. So you could save up for a purchase. And remember, we're now in holiday season. So we start with Black Friday. We then go into the holiday season all the way well into January. So it's going to start to be really good deals along the way. If you can't afford it now, maybe wait, maybe save, maybe buy one and not two right now and wait for the next round to come along.
And those trends, are they the same? Do people take on credit in January or do they use money at least that they've got for the January sales? Some believe they could be even better than the Black Friday.
So we've been monitoring the actual data on consumer spending for the last 17 years. Over the last 2 years, there's been a specific spike in November linked to Black Friday. So we know that this one specific week can trigger sales for the retailers, but also really good value for consumers, but also potentially bad debt. It starts to taper off as you get beyond January, but over the next 3 months, it's a very, very tough time for a consumer that will be confronted by really good deals. So being judicious and being aware of what you're buying will be key to your success.
So let's just end, just some general advice. If somebody's thinking of using their credit card limit, maxing it out tomorrow, just what's your words of caution?
Words of caution is get that free credit report. It sounds so simple. It sounds scary maybe, which is why people don't do it, right? But knowing what you are indebted for is such power when you're making choices on purchasing. Call the contact center, go to our website, get the free report. That's the first bit of advice. Secondly, like you said earlier, it's easy to shop around for what you may like, what you may want, but what you may need, and then decide what's the one or two things you really need to buy tomorrow and over the next week versus things you want to save for. Some of these items may seem really good today, but if you don't read them just for today, could it wait a year? Could it wait a week? And could I save until I have my bonus in March or in December? That's the best advice one could give. And like you've actually said as well, sometimes cash is actually king, right? Save a bit long, and the actual cost of the purchase over a period of time lowers if you've saved your money.
All right, so don't get caught up in the hype. Don't let Black Friday become a black hole of debt. Thank you very much for your time this evening. That was the CEO of TransUnion Africa, Naik. Now, the other business